Okay, this is Orlando Wilson. What I want to talk about in this video is due diligence, which is essential in all investments. It should be essential in all business deals, but a lot of people neglect due diligence for various reasons. I'll say usually down to their egos. But due diligence, by doing even the most basic due diligence, can save you a lot of problems, especially when you're investing in, as we're talking about in this video, investing in property. At a base level, I'm sure some people watching this video are based in Africa. In a lot of African countries, if you're driving around, you can see written on buildings, this building is not for sale, or property not for sale. This land is not for sale. Why? Because it's very common in many African countries, for people to sell property that doesn't belong to them, where scammers will go and get forged documents, forged land titles, forged property titles, and then go and sell the property to somebody else without the real owner's knowledge. Generally, when the scammers make the sale, generally for cash, or they put it into a dodgy bank account. Once the money's put in, it's taken out and disappears. So these days, even in Africa, crypto is very, very common. Once the deal is done, the scammers disappear, and then when the homeowner, property owner turns up, then they return to their house, return to their property, and they have to deal with people that actually think they own the property but are actually squatters. And then the legal arguments start, etc., etc., etc. So it's a big mess. So this is where, if from the investor's perspective, from the buyer's perspective, you always need to ensure what you're buying actually belongs to the seller. Same as everything, same to debt collection, same to whatever, proof of ownership, proof of ownership, proof of ownership. If somebody's selling you something, make sure they own it. I remember, this deviate to other places. I remember years ago I was approached by somebody, I've been approached by a couple of people on these cases, where people have bought condos in the United States. New condo buildings are putting up, new apartment buildings are being put up, and pre-sales, generally you can pick up the apartments cheaper. I know of 2 people that have bought whatever floor condos in developments, and they went in, pre-sales, put their money down, thank you very much. One couple lost about 60,000, another couple, if I remember right, about 80,000, 90,000 USD. They went in, bought these condos, put the money down. Thank you very much. We'll come back in 12 months. The condo will be built. The condo will be finished. We'll have our condos. But what happened is the company that was building the condos went bankrupt. Was that the intention of the company? No idea. But these couples now had lost their money. The company went bankrupt, went into receivership, and I take it most of the money disappeared. In places, especially like Florida, which to me is a very, very sunny place for the shady people, there's a lot of corruption. You have to be very, very careful when you're buying into new builds, because it's very easy for that company, the owners of that company that's actually doing the build, their whole intention could be not to do the complete build. They got a bank loan. They got credit from somewhere. They got somebody to put up the money to do the build, and then they're doing the pre-sales. And when they get enough money in, they'll just go bankrupt, close everything up, and disappear back to where they came from. So this is where you need to do the due diligence, even if you're buying a condo for yourself. Yeah, especially pre-sales. Let me jump ahead now to more, let's say corporate. I remember years ago, and this is back in Eastern Europe, back in Russia in the crazy days. I remember there was an oil company, a mining company, oil gas company out of, I think, Republic of Ireland era. And I know people that were investing in this company. And this company was working in Far Eastern Russia. And all of a sudden they found a big oil reserve, gas reserve, etc. I can't remember what. And their stocks went through the roof. I know people that were buying into them beforehand. They heard rumors this company was going to do good, and they did do good. What happened as soon as this company did good and hit the gas, hit the oil. The owners of the land that they were leasing for this oil project, gas project, turned up and said, well, the real owners turned up and said, what are you doing on our land? Because it turned out the people that had leased them the land didn't really own the land. Was this all a setup? Was this all a scam? Was this a scam from the start? Most probably. The owners of the land, well, the people that owned the land, that leased them the land, most probably knew what was going on, but they leased them the land knowing somebody else owned the land, and if this company done good, they could come in and then take the land, take the project from this oil and gas company. And it worked. This oil and gas company ended up, they never had a leg to stand on, because it turned out they leased, their lease was from somebody that didn't own the property. So again, they were politely told, pack your bags and go. And in the meantime, leave everything you've invested behind. That happens quite a bit. And we were dealing with another case in Dominican Republic where we went in to do a risk assessment on this property. There was going to be a big investment in Dominican Republic, a marina, condos, houses, etc., a multi-million-dollar investment in a place called Luperon. Beautiful area. And when we went in, as me and another guy went in to do risk assessment, etc., when we met the lawyer that was dealing with this project, the alarm bells started to go, because the person my business partner at the time, Dominican, we checked out this lawyer. Nobody knew him. He was a small town Luperon lawyer, had no offices in Santo Domingo. Nobody knew of him. He was just a small town lawyer. But he was all of a sudden dealing with a multi-million-dollar investment. Big project, which was way out of his league. And when we said this to the people that brought us in, that we were there for, that were making the investment, we said, look, this lawyer is really out of his league. We don't really trust him. You need to check the documents. You need to check this. You need to check everything else. You're going to have a problem. We see you're going to have a problem. We believe you're going to have a problem. They weren't too happy with us. Why? Because I think their egos got in the way of, well, who are these people? Who are you to tell us what to do? We're going to come in and make a multi-million-dollar investment, and yes, everything's good, etc. These people had believed the bullshit they'd been sold. And their egos got in the way because they had started to make the investment. They started pre-sales. They were setting up for pre-sales. So now we've come in at this stage where they've started to set up and say, look, there's an issue here. You need to rectify this issue. You need to get rid of the lawyer, get somebody else in and start all over again. Anyway, they blew us off. We had big arguments. We had argued get paid. They didn't like the reports we put in because it was negative, but it was honest. You know what? 6 months later, once the company, and this is always happens, the scammers will wait for the investors to actually, so we say, put, from a military perspective, put boots on the ground, to put infrastructure in place, to make an investment where if they pull out, they're going to be losing big money. And generally, they're not going to, the scammers won't approach people initially, because if you're not made the investment, then you've got nothing to lose. Once you have something to lose, then they will approach you, because now you have to think, okay, am I going to pay people off? How am I going to solve the problem? You're stuck. You can either walk away and lose everything, or you can try and make a deal and do something. The Dominican Republic project crashed because too many people come out the woodwork, and I take it there was too much money wanted, etc. And they'd been warned. But this big multi-million-dollar investment, they must have put a couple of mil into it. They lost everything. Why? Because they didn't do any relevant due diligence. And again, they believed the stories they had been told. Now, you think about it, if you're a scammer, and this is how a lot of the scammers work, if you think about it from a business perspective, if you're going to do a multi-million-dollar business deal, how much planning and preparation you're going to put into that deal? A lot. The scammers are the same. If somebody's going to scam you on a property deal, if somebody's going to scam somebody on a property deal, they are going to take the time to do their research, make sure they've got the right paperwork, make sure they've forged the right paperwork, make sure they paid off the right people. And this even happens in the US. People get paid off, local officials get paid off, code enforcements get paid off, judges get paid off. And again, going into developing countries, third world countries, everybody's going to be paid off. So if you go in there as an outsider, as a stranger, and you get stung and you don't do your proper due diligence, if you don't have the right people behind you, and you end up getting stung, the chances are you're not going to have a leg to stand on. You will lose everything unless you start paying people off. So this is where you've always got to be very, very wary of, how can I put it, golden opportunities. And again, whenever you're doing any investment, as far as real estate is concerned, you have to ensure you do your proper due diligence, and at a base level, actually take the time to send somebody to go through the local records, etc., to ensure you know who actually owns the property, and the people that's selling you or leasing the property actually have the rights to do so. So just a couple of short stories there on in real estate investments and why due diligence is essential. I provide, my companies provide investigation services, due diligence services, etc., in various parts of the world. And again, we can also provide advisory and management services to ensure such investments can go smoothly. So if you've got any questions on due diligence investigations, feel free to reach out to me. In the meantime, follow me along on social media. I prefer LinkedIn these days, but we're up on the main social media platforms. We're providing our training courses again, including hostile environment, protective surveillance, etc. And I also have an array of books up on Amazon that talk about various aspects of close protection, investigations, business, even crime fiction, etc. So follow me along on social media, check out the blog. There's a lot of articles up there. And if you have any questions reference due diligence, investigations, property deals, especially international property deals, feel free to reach out to us and we can give you some guidance, or we can have a conversation and work together. So in the meantime, as always, be good, stay safe, stay out of trouble, and do not neglect the due diligence. Don't let your egos get in the way. Do not believe what people tell you.